Hello, everybody. Were you busy?
No, I'm trying to share the links right now. That's why.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to an all-new episode of Beyond 2D. It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute since we've been here with you guys.
Hot minute.
Hot one.
Hot minute.
And I'm very excited because our live stream this evening is streaming live into the auditorium in our virtual community, which we have people popping in from the World Building Expo today. So welcome everybody that's hanging out from the World Building Expo. If you're commenting in the room itself, I won't be able to see it till later, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you for visiting the Breakthrough Show Network's virtual community today. We appreciate you. We love you very much.
Boom.
Yes. And thank you to everybody who's out in the audience. Miss Brittany's in that VIP seat. I'm so excited you were back in what seems like forever.
I know, don't it though? I was like, are we coming back? Are we coming back? I'm like, I don't even know. Like, it's been so long. Do I want to come back? I'm like, I don't know. We're not done. We got so much more to go beyond.
Y'all see this one here starting a ruckus already. What's up, Mandy? Happy Tuesday to you. Miss Kelly is here.
Andy, where my fellas at?
Go. Where are the men to come help out?
Where my fellas at? Where my fellas at?
That could be a follow-up song. Beyonce, reach out to Farron. Yeah.
To the right.
That's up. Starting all of it, Brittany, is what's happening. So we are starting a fresh, brand new topic this evening where we focus on the word resilience. This evening, we're going to be talking about understanding and defining resilience. We're going to give you our initial thoughts. We're going to talk about what the word means. Next time, we will talk about building resistance, which is kind of like a little bit of my own fun rabbit hole with that. And we love boundaries. And so and then the third week we're going to talk about resilience in the face of adversity. So what about when things get real hard? And then the final week we will talk about cultivating a resilient community, so on a bigger scale, and what that means.
That's right.
Yeah, because if we're going to do it ourselves, we might as well set the stage for everybody else too. Sharing is caring, as they say in kindergarten.
At what age do we lose that one?
Yeah, right. How often that along with many things we learn, but then we just throw it in the trash as we get older. So, but we're not doing that here today. We're bringing you back around, and we're going to have a great conversation about resilience. I'm going to bring up the definition on the screen. Farron, would you like to start us off this evening?
The ability of a person to adjust to or recover readily from illness, adversity, major life changes, etc. And how do you pronounce that last word over there?
Buoyancy. We love that. Another word used in the same you know how dictionary.com does with all the definitions. Elasticity was another word that was used as well. Buoyancy and elasticity. And so I would love to kick it off here. Have you guys chime in the comments on, does this definition of resilience resonate for you? How does that feel to you? Because we know a lot of times, especially as we've done on this show, that we'll look up a word, and just because it says that in the dictionary, that doesn't mean that's how we feel about it.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that's been our experience. So why
don't you feel buoyancy? I don't even
you don't feel buoyant.
Not at all. That's not even in my family's vocabulary. So I like that.
He said that's a sexy word.
You know what? I might have to start using that.
A little buoyant, a little elastic. Anyway.
Elasticity.
That's it. All right. So why don't you start us off with how you feel about that word resilience? Like, what are when we were talking about doing this topic, what are the things that came up for you?
When I looked at the definition myself, the first thing that started out was from illness,
Mm,
and I never thought of the resiliency from an illness,
mm,
right?
yeah.
And dealing with my sickle cell trait and the secondary health issues that I've been experiencing these last, umpteen years now, I didn't look at being resilient from my health.
Mm,
But then as I noticed that, then it took me back to my walk, and it's like, oh, but our afflictions are supposed to give us strength in the Lord. So then I could see
mm,
why illness is the first one on the list, because I don't believe anyone will escape an illness of some sort, whether it's you personally or someone in our life, right? And so, how do we bounce back from that illness that we end up dealing with that may come later in our life, right?
mm,
And then also the illnesses that come to our loved ones and friends, that do we bounce back from those
right.
experiences? And so, yeah, I was just shocked that that illness was the first one. Adversity, we that's mainly it's around adversity, but
Yeah.
illness, I didn't think I would see that
Yeah.
about illness.
I didn't think that would be the first word in the definition either. And you know that like we both have had that experience of an interesting journey with our where our health is concerned,
Yeah.
and that's a tough one for me too. And because the definition started with that for me, my first thought was um, that it, like so many things in the realm of personal development and fancy words that we can throw out there,
Mhm.
like so many things, I think it really, it's circumstantial. I think that there are a lot of things I feel very resilient in. I feel like, oh, no problem. I could bounce back from that. Not a problem. But then other things, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. But then this is the other thought I had that will take us. This could probably have been its own show on its own here because this is where my mind goes. What are we trying to bounce back from?
Ooh, see?
I ask that question because here I am going down the rabbit hole going, what is the expectation that I had that it was supposed to be a certain way?
And that's why when we talked about the next discussion, and you
Mm.
said resilience, I was like, mm. Because I'm gonna say this for my piece right now. Most people think that you do resiliency, like you do it.
Mm,
No, it's also the way you have to be,
mm,
right? So when we're talking about the human being experience, a lot of times we discount that experience because the stuff we're about to bring up about what it
right.
takes to experience being resilient, which are those expectations. And then I'm gonna save the rest for later. But that's exactly why when you said that, I was like, people think it's just you do it, you do resilience, and that's it. No, there's way more connected to that word of an experience, an action word too for me, and it comes
Right.
with a level of experience. And because we've been disappointed in life and all these things, like I don't want to feel that, I don't want to experience that. Just do the resilience, and then now, and
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if this right. And when I see you doing it, then we'll be okay. Like that. Like
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
Talk about a
Well,
rabbit
and
hole.
with it, I know. And with it being an experience, then you have to ask yourself, can you actually because to be something like you have to like it takes an element of practice.
Mhm.
So even the way you're being right here in this moment, the way that you're sitting, the way that you're breathing, that's you doing it. You've done it every moment up until this point, right?
That's
Like
all. That's automatic. Yeah, that's
right.
automatic.
So to say that, then to say you would have had to practice resilience at some point, which means that that can only come from having to be resilient, which then it creates its own practices.
Right. So then what causes me, like you're saying, what
Right,
what life experience causes me to then result to the word resilient, to then
right.
have to be again, like to then to have to, oh, now I got to be resilient because this whatever I was being before didn't work.
Yeah,
So now I got to be resilient, and then that gives me this toughness over my adversities and
right.
change.
Yeah,
That no, it's
yeah.
it's 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 the language phenomenon of beyond
Well,
TV.
well, let me, I have something I want to, let me jot down this note because I want to come back to this. Uh, I want to come back to that after. Yeah, we're getting fancy here with pencils, and I only have a pencil here because I was in Brittany's mindful doodling class earlier. So I have a pencil. Thanks, Brittany.
Brittany.
Let's go to the chat really quick. Brittany said I align with the definition. It means the same to what I was thinking, especially with life changes.
Mhm.
And Mandy said resilient, someone who holds a special kind of power. It's like God and life builds us to be this. Also different versions of it. It's assumed we all have it. We don't, we learn. Yes.
Okay, okay, Mandy. Okay.
Yes. And Brittany said you and your feelings about words.
Hey, I had to do a lot of work around how I talk and the words that I use to get out of the trap of my mind. So yes, I'm very responsible for my words selection.
Yeah. Yeah,
Gotta be.
absolutely.
And if we did that more often, we won't say stuff that we don't mean to people.
Yeah. I mean, I think eventually cuz we had 4 weeks about communication, right? Like we
Yeah.
had 4 weeks where we talked about that. I think eventually we may have to circle back around to just like language in general and like our processing of it because I always find it so interesting. And I think that even as we're talking about resilience, um I don't know. I think very similar to how I view joy, which is that we are joy,
Mm,
and it's a matter of just tapping into it. I think we have the capability to
mhm,
be the ability, as it says somewhere over there, to
mhm,
be resilient. We just have to tap into it. But I wrote down the word comparison. And the reason I wrote that is because I'm thinking to myself also, what's our what's our personal definition of what resilience looks like? Like, yes, it says buoyancy, ability to recover, bounce back, or adjust, or whatever. But
mhm.
what's your definition of it? Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you and I both, let's say neither one of us had any money in our bank account. Okay. And then both of us go and get a job, and now I have $100,000 in my bank account and you have $1 million in your bank account. Does that mean that you're more resilient than me? Like what is that? So that's the other question too. Like, do we make assumptions if someone doesn't have our certain level of something? Does that make them less resilient? Like, what does bouncing back even mean? It goes back to that. Like, what does that even mean for us?
Right, and that's something for me when I looked at when I relearned about the word
Mm,
resilience and what it meant to me, it was really basically just or being able thinking I'm mentally strong enough to overcome this adversity. But then what adversity, right? Because a lot of times we say that we're struggling and I got issues and circumstances. Like we got to be more specific when it comes to these adversity things. What is the actual adversity? Because it
right.
may not be at an adversity once you really peel it off and look at for what it's
Mm,
worth, right?
mm,
So then the ability to bounce back for me is, I might start a project and I'll say, you know what, this is fun and then exciting, and I want to do this project, and then something happens and it doesn't go the way that I think it's gonna go, and then
yeah.
it's like, oh well, shoot, well, you know what, nah, I don't want to do that no more. I changed my mind, but yet I'm still feeling this type of way because I didn't accomplish that goal or that project, and the ability to bounce back from that thing that I felt that stopped me.
Yeah.
So if I'm perfect example, real quick, I just discovered I've been diminished in my sickle cell trait work in my
Mhm.
own community because in my mind I thought that if I went to the school board that they would allow me to just vet me, do my presentation, and then give me this letter to take to the
Mm,
principals. So because when I go to the schools, it's like, well, some principals say, well, I got to talk to the school board first. So I'm
right.
like, well, let me go to the school board and cut that lane off and just
Yeah.
get an approval. Well, when that adversity showed up that they didn't approve that or they just kind of shoo me off, I didn't bounce back.
Yeah.
And I felt this diminished experience of myself, and it's like, well, whatever, who cares? I don't really
Yeah.
want to do that anyway in my city anyway. So it's like, but silently, it bothered me. And I didn't realize it until these two athletes passed away from sickle cell trait in July. And I'm like, are you doing enough? And then it reminded me of that feeling of, oh, shoot, I stopped going to the schools.
Right.
But why did I stop going to the schools? Oh, because I didn't bounce back from the school board adversity just because they didn't give me the letter. Why did I have to stop?
Yeah.
But, and so when you said the expectation, it's the disappointment.
Yeah.
There's that emotional experience that's connected to that. Oh, I thought they would support me and they didn't. So now I don't want to do that anyway.
Was it an inability or was it a choice not to bounce back? That's the
Oh, and so it was the choice not to
Mm,
bounce back because of the feelings that I
right.
had from the disappointment, from the expectation that why would they not say yes to that? It's a perfect solution to my problem, to my adversity. And it didn't go that way. And I
Yeah.
realized 4 years later, almost, that was a part of my experience that I didn't bounce back to or
Yeah.
bounce back from.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely connected to an expectation, an experience, and now I got to become this other person to not feel that pain anymore. So now I'm resilient, and so the word that we use in the world is resilient.
Yeah, but I mean, like Mandy brought up a good point when she was saying, who's to say even trying is resilient? It's the willpower we carry. It's the choices that we make. You know, we talk about that all the time on like every show on this network. We're always talking about choices and the power of choice because that's where it is.
Exactly.
That's where it's at. And I think I don't know, I feel like we sort of maybe need to use this time that we have talking about resilience to talk about the fact that we don't need to put that word on a pedestal.
Hey, but people do.
Right.
And this is where I'm gonna say this. Sometimes we idolize not just people, but we idolize these words, these descriptive
Yes.
words that describe this kind of a feeling
Like
that I need to have.
boundaries.
Like boundaries. I'm setting up my boundaries. I'm resilient with my boundaries, and I'm joyful with my boundaries. And it's like, what are you really saying?
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
really saying? And so
Yeah.
yeah, resilience is the label, and then now for me, I gotta peel off that label of what does that look like for me, but actually, what does that feel like to be resilient? Because what if I don't want to be resilient today? Then
Right.
I gotta pretend like I'm resilient.
What if taking a nap is resilience?
I'm 54 now. Naps are awesome.
Right?
Like
Naps are
like
awesome.
kindergarten. Like I'm all back to kindergarten again.
Breaks, deep breaths, delicious food. Those are all things that are just they feel real resilient to me.
But that ability to bounce back when
Yeah,
that thing that you've taken on that's also all of a sudden fun and exciting and new, and then when it becomes challenging and you got to do some real work to make that vision come to pass, and you get that
right.
first stumbling block and somebody rejects you or whatever that rejection means to you or whatever happens, and you're like, oh, nah, I don't want to do this really. Nah, I really don't want to do this
Right.
because now it's hard.
Yeah. I start to wonder with all the words we talk about on here if the English language wasn't designed to
Say it.
keep us
Say it.
feeling less than, to keep us feeling stuck, to
It's a
keep us
trap.
feeling like we are not enough.
It's a
I
trap.
just it and I just want to I've been saying this for years, but I really just want to say, like, people in the personal and spiritual development spaces, we really need to do better where language is concerned. We
Yeah.
really do. Because with one little word, and I'm not talking about walking on eggshells and I'm not talking about that, but we really need to do better and take into consideration just the simple fact that every single person on the planet processes words different ways. And with one statement, we have the potential to lift someone up or tear them right the hell down. So if you're talking to a client and you're going, hey, let's work on your resilience, what is that saying to them?
Yeah. Your everyday stressors.
That if something hits them 5 minutes after this call because they haven't worked on their resilience, that they're somehow not going to be able to bounce back?
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm just somebody give me a hammock.
we should do a language conversation and bring some scholars and some English teachers and some philosophers on here for those episodes, because again, just like the word love, I love you, I love my car, I love my motorcycle, I love my phone, and I love you like it's 75 degrees outside.
Yep.
But when you talk about the obligation of family and why do we always come together during funerals, but we can't talk on the other times, or we're only good on the holidays? Well, because in I think it's Hebrew's language, or there's another language for agape love, storge. So storge love is specific to family love. But when you look at the definition of storge love, it comes with the sense of obligations. So we feel that when I say I love you and I love my mom and my sisters, but we're not connected, but because there's a sense of obligations. Why are you not supporting me? Yeah. Because I have that love that comes with the sense of obligation. But that's a part of the word. When
well, and see, fun fact here for everybody, our very first Beyond 2D series back when this last season was supposed to be about love, because it was supposed to initially premiere around Valentine's Day. Remember that? We were going to talk about love. And maybe we can put that on the calendar as our kickoff for season 3 for February, because it'll be right around there, right? So we can commit to that and saying, okay, that's going to be our topic. And I really do want to talk about this, because even in the Hebrew and the Latin and the Aramaic and whatever other words, languages are from that time, I feel very strongly that love is an energy, and it goes beyond even that. Like that's where I operate from with love. And so when I say I love you and I love your motorcycle and I love my my lasagna that my granny made, and I love my kids, and oh my God, I love this little bear right here, I mean that wholeheartedly. And so I would love to have that conversation, and I think we're gonna do that. Brittany wants to be a part of that. She wants to come be a part of it. The love conversation. Yes.
I have to bring me some males for sure. I got to draft.
You got to bring some males up in the building. Okay.
This will not just be a love from the woman's perspective, fellas.
That's it. It's going to be a whole show about the love. Yes.
But all that, like you say, life's adversities and stressors and expectations all get labeled under how to combat that stuff with the descriptive word called resilience.
Yeah.
Which falls under so many, like you said, we all grew up in different backgrounds, different conversations on how we were to survive our environments with language to describe it. And some families use resilience and some don't. Doesn't make me less of a person that we don't use the word resilient in our family. We're strong. Fantastic. We're strong. What are you talking? We're strong people. We don't need that resilient stuff. We're strong. Okay. And I'm suffering. I'm suffering in silence. And I'm suffering in silence every day from life's circumstances.
Yeah, exactly.
No, doesn't work anymore. No more.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I maybe have a question for you guys when we get back. So get ready we're going to play 20 questions. No, we're just one question. We'll be right back.
I'm going to take a nap now.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold, man.
I hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Yeah. Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn, are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter had sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man.
There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org.
WDCONSCT.org. Welcome back to Beyond 2D with myself, Jessica Dugas, and
Hey, it's Farron, Dozier, retired Army Sergeant First Class, and it is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. So that PSA right there is right on time for September. Very, very important conversation. My resiliency and to bounce back into my awareness. What I made my decision was when I discovered how that diminished experience of myself was, I'm just going to go back to my old grassroots when I started 14 years ago. Hey, go to the school, knock on the door, talk to the vice principal, leave my brochure. And if they say no, they're not interested, it's not about Farron.
Yeah.
It's about the cause. But
that's it.
Yeah, I got to get back to the old ways.
It's hard when we get speaking about bouncing back, resilience, all that stuff. When we go to put ourselves into something and it's rejected in some kind of way, and we take that personally instead of going, it's not about me, like you just said, and that becomes that choice that we make. It's not actually an adversity or whatever, it's us choosing not to bounce back from those things. So it's all wrapped up in these expectations that we have, and needing the outcome of things to be a certain way. And then my question for you guys, as we're coming back from break here, as it relates to resilience. So let me pull the definition back up here. Resilience, the ability of a person to adjust to or recover readily from illness, adversity, major life changes, etc. So to recover, I'm pretty sure, and bouncing back, to me, that language even is saying like bouncing back to what was. What if you're not intended to be for things to be how they were? What if the intention is for you to be at the next level up, or to move, something better, something bigger?
No, you're absolutely correct with that, because the definition of major life changes. As a veteran, again, coming out of the military, the life changes that I experienced from 24 years in the military to my illness happening and the adversities of all that there was a major life change, and the future that I lived into of that life change was, it was over. My life was over as a change.
Yeah.
And that was the anxiety and the depression and the suicide ideations and all the adversities that I had never experienced before. But it grew me as a person.
Yeah.
As we interviewed Caldwell, that at some point in our life, that heart is gonna give up another, hey, it's my turn. I want to play now. And it may be another job. It may be something that you want to take on in life that you've been suppressing. But that is going to show up. And sometimes it's not by choice. It wasn't my choice to get out of the military. But look what happened getting out of the service. I mean, it was great. And if I'd have known that in the beginning, I probably wouldn't have been depressed. I had anxiety. But
yeah.
But then I wouldn't be doing this, because I would not have to grow and learn these skills about my language and about what I've been through to move me forward to be this stronger, resilient person.
Yeah.
And that's the major life changes in that definition. I don't know what buoyancy means. I gotta go look that up in a second.
It's to the ability to remain floating.
Yeah.
So to like if you have for my friends who live on the water, if you have a buoy, okay, and you push it down, it pops back up. It's buoyant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I resonate with being very buoyant. I float very well. I love to float in the water. I just
I'm black. The myth is real. I'm
done.
swallowing all the water.
Goodbye.
I'm done. I'm swallowing all the water. I swim like a Chevy truck, like a rock. Oh, like a rock. That's our new sponsor. Chevy truck, I got you in the by the pool. Nope. I'm not swimming. Water is a bad example. I need another example. That doesn't work for me. I'm drowning. It's over.
I'm done. I'm
swallowing. I'm swallowing all the water. In 3 feet, I'm swallowing all the water.
Let me ask you a question. If you throw your phone out into the ocean, is that buoyant or not?
That's not. That's
okay,
sinking.
then you just
you said I'm throwing my body out there. No, my body is gone. It's sinking.
I can't do this right now.
It's too late. It's too late. I'm not. Hey, the floaties, they're made on a Friday at 4:59. They're probably defective. I'm not putting on no floaties either. Nope. I'm gonna get the defective ones. So, nope. Thank you.
I can't.
I'm not resilient in water.
Oh, okay. What about elasticity? Do you feel like you're stretchable? Oh my God.
So are we resilient?
In
some areas, yes, I'm very resilient. When it comes to water sports and water activity.
Okay, so I want to talk about this seriously because I talked about in the beginning, compartmentalizing the resilience. So in some places, like maybe for us where we're talking about illness, we might not feel as resilient as we do, and maybe financially or maybe whatever. Right. And so my question for everybody, I would love for everybody to chime in the comments. What areas, now we've determined that we kind of have a little bit of a disagreement with the textbook definition here, but we're going to roll with it. So I'm going to refer to resilience as a being, as an energy. We talked about being resilience, right? Okay. What areas would you want to experience more of that resilience feeling in? What areas of your life? Because this will help us as the weeks go on here to determine which direction the conversations go. What areas would you want to experience more of that feeling of resilience in, like you could bounce back from it? What areas of your life? Do you have any of those you could think of for yourself?
You want me to tell the truth right now?
Yeah.
Well, since we already
I will.
Since we already talked about the water and that wasn't enough for y'all, the ocean talk. No, but really, I can be honest and say that I do lack a level of self-confidence. Mm. And I believe that my resilience as the label is connected to that area of the lack of self-confidence. And I want a relationship. Mm. Like I believe this time around, like I've developed, I've grown, but I don't know if I have what it takes the self-confidence to try that again.
Yeah.
And even though I've learned, I've got a lot of more knowledge to apply that to bounce back from those conversations, from those adversities, from those disagreements. I don't know if I have that yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take a level of self-confidence to, when those adversities come up, that I don't resort to the old Farron and be like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so that's a major life change, because then I'm going to give up my freedom and my space, right? And bring somebody in. And that's important to me right now. That conversation around relationships and love and the ability to deal with those adversities, not like how I used to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody out there is agreeing about needing the same resilience where self-confidence is concerned. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a good thing to ask yourself, like, how easily are you rocked by things outside of yourself? Danielle said also, believing in myself, I get stuck and stagnant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in that circumstance and that adversity, right, and in the language, for me, it's like, well, why bother?
Yeah.
So you get stuck, even with
Right.
the sickle cell trait advocacy work. It's like, well, why bother?
Yep.
And so that's why our language is so important, because we use words to describe our life, and sometimes we don't use the right words for that moment of how we really feel. And you got to go get dictionary to see, am I really feeling the way that I think I feel? Am I really angry? Am I really disappointed? Maybe I'm not. Maybe there's another word that best describes that, and that might be just enough to shift my thought process to move forward in that conversation. So definitely, when you feel stuck, that's in language.
Yeah.
And mine was disappointment, diminished experience of myself, self-loathing is a way we feel when we're stuck. And then also it's like, why bother? And so my words were, why bother?
Yeah.
And so
Why I love why bother, because one of the things that I am very gifted, one of the things that I'm very skilled at, boys and girls, is catastrophic thinking. Anybody else really skilled in that area? I bet I would be even better than every one of you put together in this room.
I don't know. I
Catastrophic.
was in the
I am
military. I was in the
so
army. I got
good.
DD 214 right here. DD
I
214.
am
I don't know.
so good at making everything out to be just horrifying in my own head. And so when I think about, one of the things that helps me is turning around that catastrophic thinking to my benefit.
Mhm.
Because if, as much as I think about what, like, okay, why bother?
Mhm.
Why bother why bother that we have this show?
Yeah.
What I ask myself back is, why bother if I don't? Like, what about the opposite side of that? So what could be so bad on the opposite side of it? And I try to spin it the other way, but it never ends up working in the other direction. Like, it just doesn't. And so if I think, like, I'm so good at making everything a big deal that I will go ahead and make it a big deal, make it look like a big deal if I don't. If I can sit here and say, okay, why bother doing this show? How many people are here? I don't even know. What if nobody watches? We could talk about all this stuff till we're blue in the face. It's not going to make any bit of difference in the whole world. That's not going to make the election turn out a certain way. That's not going to turn the world into a better place. That's not going to change anybody. This is what I do in my brain. Okay. So I make myself, if I start doing that, I make myself go the opposite direction. I make myself do it. So I say, okay, if I don't get this show, what if we don't do the show, and that one person that just needed a little bit of hope comes to show up, and we're not there to give him the message that he needed? And what if that one person was the one person to change things? If I'm going to let myself go down the rabbit hole of absolute misery and thinking about all this stuff, then I'm going to force myself to turn it back on myself and say, what happens if you don't show up?
Yeah.
What about that one person that was supposed to be there and was supposed to take that, and that was your message, and God told you to do it, and you just went and did whatever you wanted because you were going to go be a brat?
Yeah. And that was when I read those articles of those two athletes that died in July from preseason football, and I found both parents. I found both of those athletes' parents and talked to both parents. And that's when my mind was like, are you doing enough, man? But when you said something in the beginning of your talk, is how long does it take one to bounce back? Is it 2 years? Is it 10 minutes? And that's why these learned skills are so important, because the more you practice, guess what? The more you practice, you bounce back quicker. I didn't bounce back from that conversation with Fontana School District for 4 years. This is the 4th year that I'm finally bouncing back to recognize where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Imagine in relationships that we get into when we have these adversities, and then you're with your person every day for 20 years and you've never bounced back from that one thing from 15 years ago. That's the stuff that the more that we get these skills and understand these words and practice these skills and apply them to our life, where they're effective, hey, you bounce back quicker, and that's a win.
Right. Right.
And when you said that's like, yeah, when do we bounce? How long does it take to bounce back?
Yep.
20 minutes, 10 minutes, or 2 years,
right,
or 20 years later. And I think that's why these words become such an idol in us, because we've been hurt from our emotions and experiences from so long ago that I've got to become resilient. I put this resilient jacket on, but yet I'm still inside the jacket. I'm still cold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still hurt because that's an energy experience that I've been trying to protect.
Right.
And we're still hurting.
I think it's a great thing to evaluate what your relationship is with. I mean, it's a great starting point for everybody as we leave the show this week, is what is your relationship to the word resilience? Like, what, not just, okay, I agree that it means the ability to bounce back, recover, adjust, but what does it really mean? How long? What circumstances? And because when you have those expectations, if you're not, you get sick and you're not better 24 hours later because your definition of resilience is bouncing back within 24 hours, are you then going to say to yourself, guess I'm not resilient?
And then you suffer in your illness, like life is over. That's and that's, again, I love my sickle cell community, which is the label of our community. But you hear that conversation a lot when it comes to illness, and we say it doesn't define us, but then your behavior and your words are totally being defined by it.
Yeah.
And it's so hurtful when you learn that for yourself and experience it and peel that layer off. And it's like, no, I can't leave you in the dark. Beyond 2D is not going to leave you in the dark.
That's
like, that's why we're here. Like she said, if one person hears something, then it's this 60 minutes was worth it. And if nobody hears it today, but maybe 2 weeks or 2 years from now, when they watch this episode, it was worth it. The 60 minutes that we gave to have this conversation is worth it. But I have to already understand that today, though.
Mm-hmm.
But before, I would be like, what's the comments? What do they say? Who's watching? How many people? Where are they at? And I'm a guest, so I can't even see nothing, because on my streams I could see everybody now as they get. I had to get to the point where I'm okay with it's not instant gratification, Farron. God told me your work is not instant gratification.
And you need to get really good at placing the fear of God into your people. You need to, because my people are here tonight because they know that if they are not here tomorrow, Jessica's going to be like, guess your internet was down. No, not exactly. Not exactly. But still funny nonetheless. Y'all know I don't harass you in that kind of way. No, stop.
But no, what is your relationship, as she said, to resilience? Because it may not even be on this definition of your experience, because that circumstance, whatever happened to you that had you become this new word resilient, instead of being vulnerable and open and free, now I'm resilient.
When are we going to do that word?
We're not. That'll be our last episode forever.
I need everybody.
Nope.
All of you that are in this is just me and you. Look, I have the power here. This is just me and you speaking now, everybody. Okay. So I need everybody to put the word vulnerable in the chat if you think that we should cover the word vulnerable, with Farron actively participating. Put the word vulnerable in the chat.
So anyways, as I was saying,
I just said mute him.
You know what, yo, fellas, you know what? I'm just gonna have to go. I gotta go beyond 2D with my fellas. Fellas, I'm here for you, my guys. I'm speaking up for the men's side. Not just the black male side, but the men's side. We're men. I'm not here for the black male only. We're here for men.
Buoyant or not.
Exactly. Find it somewhere. But no, for real, like,
y'all are no fun. We're gonna get to vulnerability now, just to spite all of you.
Did somebody agree with me? Somebody said they agree with me, right? Without not using the word wrong. Please, that's gonna. When we decide that, you know what, we're done. We've accomplished everything. What's the last thing we want to talk about?
We'll do vulnerability last.
Do
You
vulnerability.
promise?
That'll
You
be
promise?
the last
Okay.
episode.
You guys
when we
hold
go off
him
the air.
accountable for that.
We're
Our
never
very
going.
last.
We're never going off the air though.
Oh well, shit. Okay. Guess I screwed up.
We'll be 80 years old. Like, what is the word of the week today? It ain't motorboat. It ain't motorboat. No, but for real, our relationship to our language is so important.
Oh, we got another vote.
You know what, Jesse? You see, Jesse, I'm gonna go into wherever this conversation is at. I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna send you a message and say hello. No, but no, it's cool. We're gonna work out vulnerability.
We'll eventually get there. Maybe the last words out of our mouths, but that's what it'll do. So listen, next week we're going to be talking. Our next topic in resilience is going to be building resilience. Building resilience, and I think I enjoy this because, like we talked about, being different things, and if we want to talk about being resilient, we discussed tonight that resiliency comes with a practice and sometimes in the not the most fun ways, but I really think that one of the ways that we can make being resilient a little bit easier on ourselves is to have certain tools. Maybe there's certain things that we do to help us, or preparedness, like that's a great tool. Being prepared, or there's lots of tools that we can use. So we're going to bring all the tools next week. We're going to talk about those things, and
I got something I want to drop right there before you go.
Yeah.
Before you go to,
no, we're not. We still got time. I just want
Okay.
everybody to be thinking about tools, because that's what we're going to do next time.
And so, in some of the notes that I was looking at for this just part of the subject, was around resilience, was adaptability.
The adjust word. Yeah.
Adjust, through the circumstances. And again, we can all say we have circumstances, but what is the actual circumstance that you're willing to go get help in? A lot of times we won't tell people what those circumstances are because you're gonna judge me. You might like me no more. You might think less of me.
Vulnerability.
Okay. I definitely lost my vulnerability in those circumstances. That's why I don't like that word. It doesn't fit my word. I don't use that word. But being able to adapt, that's again change.
Yeah.
Perseverance. That's one of the words that for me is biblically is that perseverance, and that's that determination.
Determination. Yep, that's my big word there.
You gotta have that level of some type of determination, but then, like for me, back to me with my sickle cell trait, I know that's my gift. I know that's what I'm born to do and have a conversation, but I lost it. I didn't get that perseverance. That determination was fractured because of a circumstance or a condition or a conversation. So are we going to let just conversations fracture us? And that was my diminished of the conversation that fractured my movement. Yeah. And then being optimism. Optimism, I'm an optimistic person, I'm this, but what does that really mean to you? Because we're all optimistic. But it's a part of that mindset. Again,
I don't know about that. I don't know if we're all optimistic all the time. But I get where you're going, but I don't know about that.
It goes back to your whole platform here about joy. Can you have joy? Can you have joy in the midst of the storm, in the midst of that circumstance and adversity and illness and change? Can you still have joy? Because the happiness is connected to the circumstance, which will kill off that happiness.
It's so being. It's like you're talking about being, though. It's being. So, and also it goes back to the expectation and understanding. Like what we talk about on Project Joy is not just it is a being, but also erasing expectations of what you think joy is supposed to look like. Yeah. Because there's a lot of joy that comes from just a sobbing over a pint of Ben& Jerry's ice cream. There's a lot of, there's a lot of joy over that. There's a lot of joy in release. There's joy in simply the fact that we are human beings that gets to experience such a multifaceted, layered life. Like, it's just so beautiful when you think about it. Like, that in itself is joy, even in its ugliness and its messiness and all those things. So we can talk about that in these words as like optimistic and all of that as well.
But I don't think people, and I learned this that you can actually negotiate expectations. You can actually, if I have expectations on you, if I have the courage and the confidence to talk to you about those expectations, they might no longer be expectations because we can negotiate and talk about, you know what?
Right.
And maybe I don't want to be in a relationship with you because of the expectations that I have that I'm not willing to let go of.
Right.
Or maybe we shouldn't do this way because of the expectations and whatever that is, but you can negotiate. And when I learned that, it was like, that's the key. Let me put that in my pocket because those expectations really come from me, from a past experience, to probably avoid being disappointed again or not being vulnerable again. So I'm using that expectation, and they're not always a negative, but we usually use them as a negative context. So we're always guarded by the expectation.
Right.
So maybe that expectation is enough to let go of your resilience.
Yeah. I think expectation is another, I'm going to be another good topic for us to talk about eventually, because I do agree with Danielle's comment that expectations can, I would put the word can in there personally for me, because I think that I have had to come to my own loving relationship with the word expectations. And I shared about that word before, as we talked about that one dreaded book that everyone loves to bring up in my presence, which is the Four Agreements. Anyway,
really,
we don't have enough time. We got 6 minutes left, and I'm not going there.
Thank you.
Another topic. But my point being is that I've really had to come to have a loving relationship with the word expectations and understand that while I understand the negative connotations around that word and why people get so riled up about expectations also keep us safe. Like, expectations are a necessary thing. And so the more we demonize that word, just like resilience, just like boundaries, the more we demonize words, the more of a prison we're putting ourselves in, and it's not, we're not going there today, ladies. We're not going there today. I knew you did, Daniel, because you and I have talked about that before too. It's just like, it's one of those things. It could be its own show.
Yes.
Could be its own show. So we are going to talk about building resilience next week. We'll talk about tools. We'll talk about what it actually looks like to feel into that. We determine that the resilience is something we need to be, not just do. And so how do we tap into that energy that already exists there? We're going to talk about that next week. Anything you want to leave us with this evening, Farron?
At the end of the day, how I got to be this person, even in front of you. The old Farron is still in here, wherever that is, it's still in there. But learning these skills and developing myself and the willingness to get out of those old ways, to find a better way or a new way to live, to be free and just express life and experience joy, is self-awareness. Like, you have to take responsibility of your self-awareness because everybody is different. We all grew up in different environments. We all have different backgrounds, different cultures. Some of us watch more news than other people, so we have this different view of the world perspective. And some of us, like me, we don't care that much about the news, but then I still have to be aware of how people talk and use their language and not make them wrong and invalidate folks.
Yeah.
And for me, my self-awareness was my opinion. And my opinion about myself, most importantly. And that was my scars, or the fractures of my integrity and my self-confidence and diminished experiences, my own opinion about myself. You're not good enough. You're not worth it. You're not smart enough. There's something wrong with you. How can you have resilience when your mind also swims in the back of with all of that back there?
Yeah.
But I have to take responsibility for that. That's not Jessica's issue. That's not my mom's or my sister's, my friends. That's Farron's issue. Or is it really an issue? Maybe it's just how Farron wound up to be Farron, and now I got to figure out who do I want to be today. But that's important, is our self-awareness.
Would you be so bold as to say that your feeling of resilience is dependent on your self-confidence level?
I would say yes, totally.
Yeah,
I would say yes.
just thinking that. I wrote that down as you were talking. I'm just, yeah.
So four things that I've learned that when I feel like this, I got to go back to these four things in my life for myself. Excuse me. I'm on my own. I don't belong. There's something wrong with me over here, and I'm not good. I'm not good enough. I'm not worth it. I'm not tall enough. I'm not fat enough. I'm not this. Those four right there, if everybody tells the truth about how they think about themselves, whatever that is, I bet you it falls into one of those four categories.
Yeah.
And then imagine if you're living with just one of those your whole life, or just all. I bounced from all four until I discovered where those things were coming from in my behavior. It's like, oh, well, that's coming from I don't feel like I'm good enough. Well, that's coming from I'm not. There's something wrong with me. That's why
right.
I don't have a girlfriend or a wife, because there's something wrong with me. And then I go down that rabbit hole.
Your not enoughness, and see, as much as y'all know how I love to compartmentalize everything, because I think it is really helpful in personal growth. However, your feeling of not enoughness and your level of self-confidence, you may feel like, okay, well, in this area of my life, I'm super self-confident and I'm super resilient and I'm enough and I can do it and it's great and wonderful. That can easily seep into other areas without you even knowing it. There is a root issue when it comes to mattering enoughness and self-confidence. I need to reach out to Shifra Malka and see if she will come on the show at some point before we finish this topic, because I feel like, because she has a book called Dare to Matter. Some of you guys might remember her. She was on a whole week or a whole month with us on Project Joy and to talk about mattering. And ever since she was on the show, that topic of mattering and enoughness and all of that keeps replaying over and over and over and over in my awareness. And so I feel like it would be a good
it is a root. I'm not the I'm nots, and they're silent. These are what we talk to ourselves when our mouth is closed, and that voice in our head is reminding us that expectation. You better not do that again, because you remember what happened last, but we don't say those things out loud to each other. We talk to ourselves. And when I learned to look from at least those four core areas of my own personal self-awareness, I could point to each one and how I live through. Like I said, sometimes I'm in all four. So
well, this has been the kickoff of our 4 weeks. We're going to be talking about resilience, the ability of a person to recover readily from illness, adversity, major life changes, etc. Buoyancy, elasticity. That's our definition.
No, and for those of you who don't think I'm vulnerable, how you think I got right here? I just choose to block it off in certain areas of my life. But how you think I'm right here, huh? Telling the truth about myself. How much more vulnerable do I gotta be? Fellas, where you at? Come be vulnerable with me sometimes.
I'm done.
At least say hi. Can I get a thumbs up in the comments, fellas? I gotta advertise better. Then
give me some hearts.
You know what? I can't even put my fingers together to make that right there. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Love it. I love it. Well, I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here with us this evening. We appreciate you. Next week, we'll be talking about building resilience, then resilience in the face of adversity, then cultivating a resilient community, which, that last episode of our 4-part series, we're always discussing, how we can look at this from a leadership level. So we're that's going to be the little drive home that we need right at the end there, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Jessica Dugas. This is Farron Dozier, and we will see you in a couple weeks for more Beyond 2D. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Appreciate you. Bye.